Sadly, the press is still not able to cover Trump the way that they should.
Will Hillary Clinton ever learn? Will she? Hillary Clinton seems to be demanding absolute homogeneity when it comes to legacy media output. She don't want no diversity. It's a little bit like the pandemic period all over again. You're free to say anything you want to as long as it's get in your house right now, put on a mask and take that medicine, and don't ask any questions about VARs or yellow card events, and certainly don't start inquiring about excess deaths. When it comes to the forthcoming election, the very fact that Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy are joining Trump would seem to be, to the casual observer, an indication that an anti-establishment alliance is forming just at the time when it's most immediately required, when globalism is in the ascendancy. But the forefathers and foremothers and mother effers of the globalism movement are getting ready to fight back. Here's Hillary Clinton demanding that everybody sing from the same hymn sheet and pray on their knees like Monica in the Oval Office to the gods of globalism.
I am struck by the fact that as his campaign careens into very, very offensive territory, the association with Holocaust deniers and the...
He's been shot at once. There's been another assassination attempt. They've been calling him Hitler for years and years and years. They loved him when he was just a billionaire or a reality TV show host. Are you going to take any responsibility for this? Rachel, take one shot and it stops. Maddow?
Outrages at Arlington National Cemetery, of all places, the insults to recipients of the Medal of Honor, the recent incredibly racist and dangerous lies about specific groups of immigrants, Haitians in this case, and Venezuelans in the case of Colorado. I am struck by the fact that as much as we thought we might have been inoculated against sort of outrage tactics like that, where everything else gets thrown by the wayside and everybody starts responding to his outrage du jour.
Did they cover Kamala Harris saying there are no US military personnel in combat zones? Here are those military personnel filming her saying it. Did they cover it? They didn't, did they? Now, like, when you watch us here, I don't believe that within the institutions of our current democratic setup, we have parties that are not so owned by corporate interests and the machinery of war that we will get the kind of nations and communities and individual freedom to which we are entitled. But I can tell you plainly that if what you're interested in is disruption of globalism, if what you're interested in is preventing the advance of these technologically feudalistic bureaucracies, you've got no choice but to look into the alliances between Tulsi Gabbard, Bobby Kennedy and Trump, and to wherever you are watching this in the world, recognize that parliamentary, congressional, apparently democratic nations are completely owned by powerful globalist interests, or owned to a degree that makes any distinction broadly irrelevant.
It's a way of sort of yanking everybody's chain. I sort of feel like we haven't learned, and he's still being taught, especially by the media, that the more offensive he is, the more he can dominate the media space entirely. And I feel like you've been a good diagnoser of that, not only from when you were up against him, but from when others have done so. Do you have an antidote for that, or a way that people can talk themselves out of taking that bait?
I think that's really a critical question, and I think there's a couple of things going on here. You mentioned the press, and sadly, the press is still not able to cover Trump the way that they should. They careen from one outrage to the next. What was outrageous 3 days ago is no longer on the front pages, even though it threatens the physical safety of so many people, particularly, as you point out, immigrants that he and Vance have decided to demonize. And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
I think it's been very consistent. That's basically all they ever say. Trump is dangerous. Trump's a bit like Hitler. Oh, it's a shame that person missed his head. If it had just rotated a bit that way, we could have ended all of this chaos. He's a criminal. He's a racist. He's a rapist. I've never seen such a wonderful concord of constant disinformation. And again, I'll reiterate, as I feel it is my duty to, that my interest in Donald Trump and the MAGA movement comes mostly from his more recent alliances with Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi, etc. I know loads of you love him, that you're full MAGA, and I respect you, and I believe in your right, and I am 100% aligned with you in your view that Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party are more closely allied to globalism and therefore a greater threat to individual freedom, international freedom, and all forms of freedom than anything that might emerge from the numerous political figures that they decry, but none so heartily or so consistently as Donald Trump, who Hillary Clinton believes they have to do better with. Did you notice that the entire Democratic Party talks to you like you're a child, whether it's Tim Walz's wife telling you to turn the page, whether it's Kamala Harris lying outright about military personnel not being in combat zones, or whether it's the haughtiest of the haughty, Hillary, you're in a lot of trouble, Clinton chiding you like a schoolmarm. How she dealt with Bill is a mystery to me.
The late, great journalist Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump. His demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it. They were merciless about what they saw as President Biden's, problems in the debate. And
they were not merciless. They actually wrapped him in cotton wool and handled him with kid gloves and lubricated him with praise and distracted us from his decline and didn't mention Hunter Biden's laptop and didn't go on about the numerous peculiar deals or his voting record or his obvious ineptitude. Neither did they mention Russiagate, a word that should be stamped upon Hillary Clinton's forehead. Not in an aggressive way. I don't believe in violence. Maybe, use glitter or something. But it's not something that we should be allowed to forget. And it's still not enough for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton needs more and more and yet more still. No wonder Bill Clinton went scurrying to the Oval Office for a little bit of relief. The poor fella must have been shattered. We can't continue to bring you this awakening and hopefully enjoyable content without the support of our partners. That's why I've got to ask you, and I'm glad to ask you, are you struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns? The IRS is escalating collections, adding, get this, 20,000 new agents and sending over 5 million collection letters to kick off 2024 to spend on things that you probably don't agree with, like wars and measures and a total lack of infrastructure. In these challenging times, your best defense is Tax Network USA. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. With over 14 years of experience, Tax Network USA have saved their clients over $1 billion in back taxes. No matter the size of your tax issue, their expertise is your advantage. They specialize in negotiating with the IRS, aiming to significantly reduce your debt. Tax Network USA doesn't just negotiate, they also protect your assets from IRS seizures and manage your yearly returns for ongoing compliance. Importantly, they are licensed to help you with all state tax issues, regardless of where you live in the United States. The clock is ticking. Don't wait as the IRS steps up its game. Seize control of your financial future now. Contact Tax Network USA for immediate relief and expert guidance. Visit taxnetworkusa.com/brand. Don't let tax issues overpower you. Turn to Tax Network USA and find your path to financial peace of mind. All right, let's get back to this content.
Calling for him to withdraw. I believe Donald Trump has disqualified himself over and over and over again to be a presidential candidate, let alone a president. The second thing, though, is that part of what Trump is counting on is for people to get desensitized. I mean, oh my gosh, did you hear what he said yesterday? Did you hear who he attacked? Did you hear the viciousness? And it just like with a shrug, okay, fine, we're moving on. Well, Americans need to understand that they have to take Trump both seriously and literally. He has said what he wants to do. He and his allies with Project 2025, his desire to be a dictator, at least on day one.
Right, saw that. That was a joke. Project 2025 is put together by the Heritage Foundation. It's kind of Christian sort of doctrine, but so, yeah, he says there's things in it he disagrees with. He's answered questions about that directly. If there's a think tank that you want to concern yourself with, Think about the Atlantic Council, that are one of those CIA set-up organizations that march us ever closer to Armageddon. Remember all of this ongoing condemnation of Trump. Remember all of this calling for an unending choir of condemnation for Trump, perhaps as a supplement to the assassination attempt, ignores the fact that we are marching towards global apocalypse, that the Ukraine war continues to be funded with Russia, which ought to be ended, and I say that without a single penny from Tenet. Where's my Tenet money? Not because I think Russia's a great place, I bet it's terrifying to live in Russia, but because I believe in peace, but because I believe that diplomacy is the answer, because I believe that we have to find a solution, because I believe nuclear wars are a bad thing. I believe that all of the conflicts in the world currently should be moving towards peaceful solution, and the might of NATO and the affiliate countries ought to be used to bring about this peace rather than profit from perpetuating these wars. But these aren't popular opinions these days, are they?
All of that is in the public record. And I believe that more Americans have to be, willing to endure what frankly is discomforting and to some extent kind of painful, to take him at his word and to be outraged by what he represents. And then finally, the hopeful side of this is that I do think more and more Americans are, rejecting the kind of chaos that he represents. We can't go back. That's what the Harris campaign says all the time. We're not going back. We're not going back to...
That's one of our messages. We're not going back, and that we're turning the page, and that we're not demonic figures.
What he failed to do to protect American lives during COVID. We're not going back to the, romance with dictators that puts, innocent lives at risk and
romance with dictators.
America's security in danger. We
look in the corner from Russia with Lev, like that they're promoting some show. I wonder if they will cover the ongoing Russiagate hoaxes that Hillary continues to perpetuate.
In danger. We can't go back and give this very dangerous man another chance to do harm to our country and the world.
Yeah, somebody should shoot him probably. Oh yeah, they try that basically every single day. So there you go. What's the real problem? Is it 20th century style demagoguery? Is it resurgent nationalism, an understandable response to the advance of globalism? Or is it technological feudalism augured under the auspices of oddly reptilian individuals claiming that they're here to help us and they require the media to be more compliant? I believe that you're better off with the berserkers and disruptors than with these terrifying bureaucrats. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.